Hey everyone, I just wanted to check in now that we are halfway through Unit 2. Some of you are more than halfway through Unit 2, so that's awesome. It's great if you're able to work ahead. I also noticed that some of us are falling just a little bit behind the schedule. Remember, as I've said elsewhere, that's okay. Don't worry too much about that. Just make sure that you're able to get your work done in as timely a way as you're able to. Of course, the ultimate deadline for all of our work this intersession term is the 9th of May, which is also Mother's Day. That's the last day of class. The final project's due at noon. Everything needs to be submitted by then, so try to create a schedule for yourself. If you're falling a little behind, the one that I've created for the class that will make it possible for you to be able to complete all of your work. If you're not sure how to do that, or you have questions, or you need some help, please let me know. I'm happy to help in any way that I possibly can during our short intersession term. I'm really enjoying reading your thoughts and ideas on New Mexico history, specifically New Mexico's first people, Pueblo people and their resilience. I did emphasize one of the tweets that was posted about not forgetting that Indigenous people are not past, they're present. Indigenous people are here. Pueblo people are here. They're not just a group of people or a culture that happened long ago in history that came before the settlers that many of us are descended from. But instead, they are people who have shaped and continue to shape New Mexico's unique culture, our society, the kinds of relationships that we have with one another. All of those things are part of Native culture, and we cannot forget that. So please keep that in mind as we continue our course. Of course, there are historic Pueblo people, there are historic European settlers, and people of African American descent in New Mexico as well. And those of us that are here today can trace our legacies back to those ancestors. So we're all present. We're all part of this unique culture that has become what we know of as New Mexico today. I did post to the activity feed some thoughts about genocide. Scholars of Native American history, of Western American history, of the borderlands, and also of Latin America have come to recognize that the settler violence against indigenous people in the United States, in Mexico, in Central America, and South America is genocide, as termed and defined by the United Nations in their Convention on Genocide that followed World War II. It was put together in 1948, and most world nations have signed on to that. In the news over the weekend, of course, you may have seen that the Biden administration has decided to label the violence against Armenian people in what is today Turkey as genocide. The president of Turkey has pushed back by saying, pot kettle, essentially. What the United States did against its people, against the Native American people, I should say, its people, was genocide. And we don't recognize that, though. We don't call it that. There are, of course, various political reasons for that, but there are also, kind of settler colonial reasons for that. We don't want to think of ourselves as perpetrators of genocide. We don't want to think of ourselves as colonizers or as violent. And you can understand why, but that's not the historical truth. And so there's some links to different resources on that in the activity feed, some questions if you'd like to think about that and respond. But again, it's one of these things about history that it's why it's constantly reinterpreted, and why it's important for us to get even the negative parts right, or maybe especially the negative parts right, that don't paint us in a particularly good light. Because without that, we can't start to even heal the issues that we have in our modern day society relative to racism and inequality, if we can't recognize those realities about our history. All right, so I think I'll leave that there. Let me know what questions you have relative to our coursework, how I can help, and I hope that you're having a good Thursday.